I'm still bleeding when he says it. The kitchen light burns too bright above us. My feet feel frozen against the cold tile floor. I just told him what the doctor said at the hospital, that the miscarriage wasn't my fault, that these things just happen sometimes, that my body did nothing wrong. He scoffs. A short, ugly sound that cuts through the silence. Then the word drops like a stone into still water. Useless. Not shouted, not screamed in anger, said calmly, casually. Like he's commenting on the weather, like it's a verdict he's already decided about me. My body locks up, every muscle goes rigid. The grief I've been carrying for 3 days suddenly turns radioactive. It spreads through my chest like poison. This is the moment. The exact moment when everything changes forever. The injustice of it lands fully, brutally. There's no taking it back. No pretending I misheard. No softening the blow with explanations or apologies. He called me useless. While I'm bleeding from losing our baby. While I'm broken and raw and barely holding myself together. The word hangs in the air between us like smoke. And I know, with crystal clarity, that our marriage just died in this kitchen. Just like our baby did 3 days ago. Silence swallows the room after he walks away. His footsteps echo down the hallway. I hear him open a beer in the living room, turn on the television, like nothing happened. Like he didn't just destroy me with a single word. I don't cry yet. I feel something much worse than tears. I feel clarity. My name is Amaris Vale. I'm 28 years old. I work as a graphic designer for a small advertising firm downtown. I have a college degree and a clean driving record, and parents who love me. And I realize, standing in this too bright kitchen, that this isn't the first time my husband has treated my pain like a personal failure. This was just the first time he said it out loud. I think about last month when I got food poisoning. How he complained about having to bring me soup. How he acted like my illness was an inconvenience designed specifically to ruin his weekend. I think about when I broke my wrist skiing 2 years ago. How he spent the entire drive to the emergency room talking about the cost. About how clumsy I was. About how this would mess up our vacation plans. I think about how he's never once held me while I cried. Never once asked how I was feeling without checking his phone at the same time. The truth settles over me like cold water. This isn't grief talking. This is reality. I remember the exact moment I told him I was pregnant. It was a Tuesday morning in March. Spring sunlight streamed through our bedroom window. I held the test in my shaking hands and whispered the words I'd been practicing. We're having a baby. His smile was delayed, too measured, like he was calculating something behind his eyes instead of feeling joy. He hugged me, but it felt rehearsed, practiced. Later that week, we had dinner with his family. His mother, Patricia, asked about timing. Whether we'd planned this, whether it was convenient. Her voice carried judgment wrapped in concern. His sister, Brooke, made jokes about me finally contributing to the family line. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, thinking it was harmless teasing between relatives. I didn't understand the rules yet. In this family, a woman's value was measured by what she produced. Children, comfort, convenience. I was being evaluated like a job applicant who might not meet their qualifications. When I lost the baby at 11 weeks, I thought they'd show sympathy, support, basic human kindness. Instead, Patricia asked if I'd been taking vitamins. Brooke suggested I'd been working too, much stress. Like the miscarriage was something I'd done wrong. Something I could have prevented if I just tried harder. My husband never defended me, never corrected them. He just nodded along like their questions made perfect sense. After the miscarriage, he doesn't touch me. Not once in 3 days. He sleeps on his side of the bed with his back turned. When I reach for his hand, he pulls away. He complains about work stress, about deadlines, about everything except the fact that we just lost our baby. His family calls to check on him. Not me, him. Like I'm not the one who went through the physical trauma. Like I'm not the one still bleeding and cramping and feeling like my body betrayed me. Patricia tells me to stay positive during one of her phone calls. She says these things happen for a reason, that God has a plan. Someone at church says, "At least now you know you can get pregnant." Like that should comfort me. Like losing a baby is just practice for the real thing. I begin to feel like I'm on probation. Like I'm being watched and judged for how well I'm handling this loss. Like my grief has an expiration date that everyone else gets to decide. When I cry, my husband looks annoyed. When I don't cry, his mother asks if I'm being cold about the situation. There's no right way to grieve in this family. There's only their way. And their way involves me getting over it quickly and quietly so everyone else can be comfortable again. I start to understand something terrible. This isn't about losing a baby. This is about failing a test I didn't know I was taking. It happens on a Thursday night. I'm in the hallway outside our bathroom when I hear his voice through the door. Low and familiar. He's on the phone with someone. "She's not handling it well," he says. His tone is concerned. Reasonable. Like he's discussing a work problem that needs solving. Then quieter but still loud enough for me to hear. "I don't think she's strong enough for this." My blood freezes in my veins. I press myself against the wall, barely breathing. "Yeah, I know," he continues. "I thought she was different, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe she's just not built for the hard stuff." The conversation continues, but I stop listening. I can't process anymore. My husband is talking about me like I'm a broken appliance. He's considering returning to the store, not built for the hard stuff. Like losing a baby is a character test I failed instead of a medical event that happened to me. I creep back to our bedroom and climb into bed. When he comes back 20 minutes later, I pretend to be asleep. He settles beside me without saying a word. In the darkness, I stare at the ceiling and feel something shift inside my chest. My grief is sharpening into something else, something clearer and more dangerous. Alertness, awareness, the beginning of understanding that I'm not safe here. Not emotionally, maybe not in other ways either. The changes start small, so subtle I almost miss them. He begins telling people I'm not myself after the miscarriage. He uses that exact phrase every time, like he's reading from a script. When my friend Jade calls to check on me, he answers the phone. I hear him say, "She's having a rough time. She's not really herself right now." Then he hands me the phone with a concerned expression. He takes over bills I used to manage, the electric bill, the car insurance, says it's one less thing for me to worry about while I'm recovering. I notice money moving between our accounts. Nothing dramatic, just quiet shifts, transfers that don't make sense. When I ask about it, he says he's consolidating things to make our finances simpler. He starts checking the mail before I get home from work, sorting through it on the kitchen counter. When I ask if anything came for me, he always says no, but I see envelopes in the trash with my name on them. Nothing dramatic. Nothing I can point to and call abuse. Just quiet erasure disguised as concern. He's rewriting our story, making me the fragile woman who fell apart after losing a baby, making himself the patient husband who's holding everything together. And I realize he's been planning this narrative longer than I thought. Maybe since the moment I told him I was pregnant. Maybe since the moment we got married. This isn't about grief. This is about control. Sunday dinner at his parents' house feels like a trial. Patricia sets the table with her best china, the kind that makes tiny clinking sounds when you're not careful. She serves roast beef and mashed potatoes, everything beige and safe. We eat in silence for the first 10 minutes. Then she touches my arm with her cold fingers. "Men need women who can endure," she says. Her voice is gentle, motherly, like she's sharing wisdom instead of delivering a threat. Her eyes flick down to my stomach, then back to my face. "Some women are just naturally stronger, more resilient." Brooke nods from across the table. "Mom went through 3 miscarriages before she had James. She never let it break her." My husband cuts his meat without looking up. He doesn't defend me, doesn't change the subject, just chews quietly while his family discusses my failures. "Of course, that was different," Patricia continues. "Women were tougher back then. We didn't have all these therapy options and support groups. We just got on with things." I realize this family has already decided what I am. Weak, fragile, unsuitable. They're not waiting to see how I recover. They've already written me off. The conversation moves to other topics. Work, weather, neighbors. But I stop listening. I sit in their dining room, eating their food, and understand that I'm surrounded by people who want me gone. The doctor's office becomes my sanctuary. Dr. Miller has kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She speaks to me like I'm a person instead of a problem. "Your body did absolutely nothing wrong," she tells me during my follow-up appointment. Miscarriages happen in about 20% of known pregnancies, usually due to chromosomal abnormalities that are completely random. I cry. Not from sadness this time, but from relief. Finally, someone is telling me the truth instead of making me feel guilty. There's no evidence that stress caused this. No evidence that you could have prevented it. Your hormone levels were normal. Your health is normal. This was not your fault. She hands me tissues and waits while I sob, real, ugly crying that I haven't allowed myself to do at home. Are you getting support at home? She asks gently. I almost lie, almost say yes because that's what I'm supposed to say, but something in her expression stops me. Not really, I whisper. She nods like she's heard this before. Grief affects everyone differently. Some people need space, others need closeness. Both are normal, but it can create distance in relationships. Outside the clinic, I sit in my car for 20 minutes. I decide something important in that parking lot, something that will change everything. I will never beg for dignity again, not from my husband, not from his family, not from anyone. I buy a journal that night, nothing fancy, just a plain blue notebook from the drugstore. I start writing everything down, dates, quotes, conversations, tone shifts, patterns I'm beginning to notice. March 15th, told him about pregnancy, smile delayed. Asked about timing, March 22nd, dinner with his family. Patricia asked if it was planned. April 2nd, miscarriage. No physical comfort from him. April 5th, called me useless while I was still bleeding. April 7th, overheard phone conversation, said I wasn't strong enough. April 10th, started managing my bills without asking. I don't know exactly why I'm doing this yet, only that something inside me knows I'll need the truth later. Written down, dated, undeniable. The patterns become clearer on paper. The timeline of his behavior, how it started before the miscarriage and accelerated after. I write down the exact words his mother used, the way his sister looked at me, the phone call I overheard, everything. My handwriting gets steadier as the pages fill up. My thoughts become clearer. This isn't grief making me paranoid. This is evidence of something darker. At night, I hide the journal between my mattress and box spring. During the day, I carry it in my purse, always within reach, always being filled with new observations. The truth is building, line by line, day by day. And I'm the one controlling the narrative now. The joke happens at Brooke's birthday party. We're standing in her backyard while her kids run around the sprinkler. The adults are drinking wine and pretending this is fun. Brooke's friend Carmen makes a comment about how hard it must be for James, having a wife who can't seem to get pregnant and stay pregnant. Good thing he's young, Carmen says with a laugh. He's not waiting forever, right? Everyone chuckles. Patricia raises her wine glass like it's a toast. Brooke grins and winks at my husband. He doesn't correct her, doesn't defend me, doesn't say anything at all, just smiles that measured smile and takes a sip of his beer. That night, I sleep fully dressed, jeans and a t-shirt, like I might need to leave quickly, like I'm preparing for something I can't name yet. He notices. Why are you wearing clothes to bed? I'm cold. I lie. He accepts this without question, because he's not really paying attention to me anymore. He's paying attention to the idea of me, the version of me that exists in his head. The weak woman who needs to be managed and eventually replaced. But I'm not that woman. I never was that woman. And I'm starting to remember who I actually am. The real Amaris Vale, the one who existed before I married into this family. Before I learned to make myself smaller to fit their expectations. She's still here, still fighting, still planning her way out of this trap. I discover the financial lock on a Tuesday morning. I'm trying to pay our credit card bill online when the system denies my access. Invalid password. Then it locks me out entirely. I call the bank. The customer service representative explains that James recently changed the account settings. Added security measures. My access has been restricted to view only. He said it was temporary, the woman on the phone tells me. Something about fraud protection. I hang up and stare at my laptop screen. The checking account I've contributed to for 3 years is now controlled entirely by my husband. The savings account my paychecks go into, the joint credit card we use for groceries and gas, all of it suddenly belongs to him. When he comes home from work, I mention it casually. I couldn't pay the credit card bill today, something about my access being restricted. He doesn't even look up from his dinner. Yeah, I changed that. Just temporary. There've been some fraud alerts on our accounts. I figured it was safer to limit access until we sort it out. His voice is calm, reasonable. Like this makes perfect sense. How long will it be temporary, I ask. Just until we get things straightened out, he says. Still not looking at me. I smile and nod. Inside my mind goes cold and sharp. This isn't about fraud protection, this is about power. About making me financially dependent. But he's made a mistake. I still have my own checking account, the one I opened before we got married, the one he doesn't know about. I meet with Laura Brennan on a Thursday afternoon. She's a family law attorney with an office downtown. Not for divorce papers, not yet. Just for information. Her office is small and comfortable. Books line the walls. A box of tissues sits on every table. She's probably in her 50s with gray-streaked hair and intelligent eyes. Tell me what's happening, she says after I sit down. I explain everything. The miscarriage, the word useless, the financial restrictions, the conversations I've overheard, the way his family treats me. She listens without interrupting, takes notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finish, she sits back in her chair. Do you feel emotionally safe at home? She asks. The question catches me off guard. I open my mouth to say yes automatically. Then I close it again. Do I feel safe? When he's on the phone talking about how weak I am? When his mother tells me men need stronger women? When my access to money gets cut off without warning? I don't answer. My silence answers for her. Financial restriction is a form of control, Laura explains. It's often the first step in a pattern, making someone dependent, limiting their options. She gives me a packet of information. Divorce laws in our state, property division, spousal support, resources for women leaving marriages. Just information, she says, in case you need it later. I drive home with the packet hidden in my trunk. But already I feel something shifting, like I have options I didn't know existed. The real plan reveals itself on a Saturday night. I'm supposed to be asleep, but I can't stop thinking about everything that's been happening. So I get up to get a glass of water. Their voices drift from the living room. James and his mother talking quietly. I creep down the hallway and listen from around the corner. She's been unstable since the miscarriage, he's saying. Moody, unpredictable. I'm worried about her mental health. That's not your fault, Patricia replies. Some women just aren't strong enough for marriage, for the responsibilities. I've been documenting everything. Dates when she's had breakdowns, times when she's been irrational, just in case. My heart stops beating. In case of what? Patricia asks. In case I need to leave. I want to make sure everyone understands why, that I tried to help her, but she couldn't handle the pressure. They continue talking, but I stop listening. I creep back to the bedroom on silent feet. Climb into bed without making a sound. He's been building a case against me. Preparing to leave, but not just leave. Leave with sympathy. With everyone believing he's the victim of my mental instability. I don't confront him. I don't cry. I don't react at all. Instead, I thank him for dinner the next night. I ask about his day. I smile and nod and play the role of the loving wife. While I plan his destruction, I stop reacting to his provocations. When he makes cutting remarks, I stay calm. When he restricts my access to something else, I don't argue. When his family makes their pointed comments, I just smile politely. The change unsettles him. He starts watching me more carefully, checking my phone when I'm in the shower, going through my purse when he thinks I'm not looking. You seem different lately, he says one evening. We're washing dishes together like a normal couple, like he didn't call me useless 2 weeks ago. Different how? I ask. My voice is light, curious. I don't know. Calmer, I guess. It's good. You seem like you're healing. He means it as a compliment, but I can hear the suspicion underneath. He's wondering why I'm not falling apart anymore, why his emotional manipulation isn't working. I dry a plate carefully and put it away. I'm just trying to move forward, I tell him. Like everyone said I should. That night he goes through my phone while I'm brushing my teeth. I can hear him in the bedroom, scrolling through my messages and emails. He finds nothing, because there's nothing to find. Yet. But his desperation is showing. The confident man who called me useless is starting to worry. Starting to realize that maybe I'm not as broken as he thought. Maybe I'm not as controllable as he assumed. Maybe he's made a terrible mistake. The phone call comes on a Wednesday afternoon. I'm at work, designing a logo for a local restaurant, when my cell phone buzzes. Amaris, this is Victoria Chen from Meridian Creative Agency. My breath catches. Meridian Creative is one of the biggest advertising firms in the city. I interviewed with them 2 years ago, but turned down their offer to move here with James. We have a senior designer position opening up, Victoria continues. Your portfolio from 2 years ago was impressive. We were wondering if you'd be interested in discussing opportunities. I step away from my desk and walk to the empty conference room. I'd be very interested, I tell her. Excellent. The salary range is $60,000 to $75,000, depending on experience. Full benefits, creative freedom. Can you come in Friday for an interview? $75,000. That's almost double what I'm making now. That's independence money. That's freedom money. Yes, I say without hesitation. Friday works perfectly. After I hang up, I sit in that conference room for 10 minutes, staring out the window at the city below. 2 years ago, I turned down this exact opportunity because James said it would be too stressful for me. Too demanding. He convinced me I wasn't ready for that level of responsibility. Now I realize he was afraid. Afraid of me having my own success. My own money. My own options. But Victoria Chen just handed me the key to a cage I didn't even know I was in. The argument starts over something stupid. I burned dinner. The chicken came out dry and overcooked because I was distracted thinking about my job interview. This is inedible, James says, poking at his plate with obvious disgust. I'm sorry, I was distracted. That's the problem, he snaps. You're always distracted lately, always somewhere else. It's like you don't care about anything anymore. His voice gets louder, more aggressive, like he's been holding back frustration for weeks. You can't cook, you can't get pregnant, you can't even handle losing a pregnancy without falling apart. What exactly can you do? The question hangs between us like a challenge. Then he says it. The words that reveal everything. You'd be nothing without me. Nothing. Do you understand that? The confidence in his voice is terrifying. He truly believes this. In his mind, I'm completely dependent on him for my value, my worth, my very existence. I look at my husband across our dinner table and realize he's not just controlling me. He's trying to erase me, replace me with a version of myself that exists only to serve him. You're right, I tell him quietly. I would be nothing without you. He smiles, satisfied, like he's won something important. If only he knew what I was really agreeing to. The interview goes perfectly. Victoria gives me a tour of the Meridian offices, glass walls and open spaces. Creative energy buzzing through every room. Your portfolio is exactly what we're looking for, she tells me as we sit in her corner office. Fresh perspective, clean design, strong technical skills. We talk about projects, clients, creative vision. For the first time in months, I feel like myself again. The version of me that existed before I learned to apologize for taking up space. I have to ask, Victoria says as the interview winds down. You've been at your current position for 3 years. What's motivating the change? Growth, I tell her honestly. I'm ready for more responsibility, more creative control. I want to push myself. She nods approvingly. That's exactly what we want to hear. 3 hours later, she calls my cell phone. The position is yours if you want it, Victoria says. $72,000 to start, full benefits, 4 weeks vacation. When can you begin? I'm sitting in my car in the Meridian parking garage. The offer letter comes through my email as we're talking. I read it 3 times to make sure it's real. 2 weeks notice at my current job, I tell her, so I could start the Monday after next. Perfect. Welcome to the team, Amaris. After I hang up, I don't celebrate. I don't call anyone. I don't even smile. Instead, I drive to a different bank, one across town where James has never been. And I open a new checking account. They stage the intervention on a Sunday afternoon. James, Patricia, and Brooke arrange themselves in our living room like they're conducting business. Patricia speaks first. Her voice drips with manufactured concern. We're worried about you, dear. You've been so distant lately, so withdrawn. Brooke nods dramatically. You haven't been yourself since the miscarriage. We think you might need professional help. James sits with his arms crossed, playing the role of the concerned husband who's tried everything. I think some time away might help, he adds, maybe staying with your parents for a while, getting some perspective. Translation: leave. Disappear. Make this easier for everyone. They suggest therapy, medication, a break from work stress, all the things that would make me more dependent, more controllable, more grateful for their patience. I nod politely through their entire presentation. I agree that I've been struggling. I thank them for caring so much about my well-being. You're probably right, I tell them. I should take some time to figure things out. They exchange pleased looks, like they've successfully managed a difficult situation. If only they knew I was recording everything in my mind, every word, every expression, every moment of their fake compassion, building my case just like James built his, except mine would be based on truth instead of manipulation. My journal has become a map, 37 pages of dates, quotes, observations, and evidence. The pattern is undeniable when you see it written out chronologically. The financial restrictions started 3 days after he called me useless. The conversations about my instability began a week later. His mother's comments about stronger women happened exactly 10 days after my miscarriage. This wasn't random cruelty. This was a coordinated campaign to break down my self-worth and create justification for leaving me. I photocopy every page. Store the copies in my locker at work. Email digital versions to myself at my new job address. The bank statements I managed to print before losing access show the money transfers clearly. Funds moved from our joint account to his personal account. My paychecks deposited and immediately transferred elsewhere. The medical records from Dr. Miller confirm there was nothing wrong with my body. Nothing I could have prevented. The miscarriage wasn't my fault, no matter what his family implied. Text messages between him and his sister, screenshots of social media posts where he portrays himself as the patient husband dealing with his unstable wife. Everything documented, everything dated, everything true. I'm no longer confused about what's happening to me. I'm no longer questioning my own perceptions. I'm precise, I'm prepared, and I'm dangerous. James grows arrogant as the weeks pass. He starts talking about next steps without including me in the conversation. He mentions looking at apartments. Says he's been thinking about a fresh start. Talks about taking some time apart for both our sakes. He stopped pretending to care about my feelings. Stopped asking how my day was. Stopped bothering with basic courtesy. At his mother's house, they discuss me like I'm not sitting right there. Patricia talks about how some marriages just don't work out. Brooke mentions that James deserves someone who can handle stress better. He nods along to all of it. Sometimes he even adds his own comments about how hard this has been for him. They think they've already won. Think I'm so broken down that I'll just accept whatever they decide for me. James has started staying out later after work, coming home with excuses about client dinners and project deadlines. I don't ask where he's really been because I don't care anymore. Let him think he's getting away with something. Let him think I'm too damaged to notice or too weak to fight back. His overconfidence is making him sloppy. And sloppy men make mistakes. Big, expensive, documented mistakes that judges don't like. I secure an apartment on Thursday afternoon. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom place 15 minutes from my new job. Clean, safe, mine. The landlord, an older woman named Mrs. Foster, shows me around personally. Hardwood floors, updated kitchen, a balcony overlooking a small garden. Previous tenant lived here for 8 years, she tells me. Never had a single problem with her. I like tenants who take care of things. I sign the lease in my maiden name. Amaris Vale. It feels like putting on clothes that actually fit after wearing someone else's for years. The deposit comes from my new account. First and last month's rent from my new salary. Everything legal, everything independent. I arrange for utilities to be connected the day after I plan to leave. Internet installation scheduled for the same week. I buy basic furniture online and have it delivered to Mrs. Foster's address. James has no idea any of this exists. In his mind, I'm still the broken woman who can't function without his guidance. But I've been functioning just fine, planning my exit with the same precision he used to plan my destruction. The difference is my plan is based on truth, and truth has a way of surviving contact with reality. His lies are about to crumble under the weight of documented facts. It happens on a Tuesday night. We're doing dishes again, playing house like we've been doing for weeks. I drop a glass. It shatters on the kitchen floor, sending pieces across the tile. God damn it, Amaris. Can't you do anything right? I start to pick up the pieces, and he grabs my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise, but firm enough to stop me. Just leave it, he snaps. You'll probably cut yourself, and then I'll have to deal with that too. His voice carries that familiar tone, the one that says I'm more trouble than I'm worth. I'm sorry, I tell him. I'll clean it up. No, he says, and there it is. The word I've been waiting for. You're useless at this. You're useless at everything. This time, I don't flinch. I don't feel the sharp pain in my chest. I don't even feel angry. I almost pity him. You're right, I say calmly. I am useless at being the woman you want me to be. He lets go of my wrist and stares at me. Something in my tone has shifted, and he can't quite place what it is. But I can. For the first time since our baby died, I'm not afraid of him. I leave on a Thursday morning while he's at work. Not dramatically. Not with shouting or slamming doors. Legally. Cleanly. With receipts for everything. The divorce papers are served at his office. Professional. Public. Humiliating in exactly the way he tried to humiliate me. The financial records go to my attorney the same day. Bank statements showing his transfers, documentation of restricted access, evidence of financial control. My journal goes with everything else. 37 pages of his exact words, dates, times, witnesses present for the worst comments. The recording I made of his phone conversation, where he called me unstable. The texts between him and his sister planning my intervention. Screenshots of his social media posts portraying himself as the suffering husband. His story collapses when facts replace his narrative. Within hours, he's calling my phone, leaving voicemails that swing between rage and bargaining, demanding to know where I am, insisting we can work this out. His family scrambles to make sense of what happened. Patricia calls me 12 times in one day. Brooke sends angry texts about how I'm destroying their son over normal marriage problems. But the concerned, caring family act vanishes completely. No more gentle voices talking about my well-being, no more suggestions about therapy and rest. Now I'm selfish, vindictive, mentally unstable. Every accusation reveals exactly who they really are. James loses control of everything he spent months carefully constructing. The image, the narrative, the sympathy he'd been building for himself. People start asking questions. Co-workers who heard his stories about his struggling wife now see divorce papers that tell a different story. His attempts to portray me as unstable fall apart when my new employer calls him for a reference check. Victoria Chen speaks to the James who didn't know she was calling about his wife. Amaris is one of our top hires this year, she tells him during the call. Extremely stable, professional, excellent work ethic. The James on the phone, caught off guard, can't maintain his story about my mental instability. He stumbles through responses that contradict everything he's been telling people. Our mutual friends receive copies of the documentation, bank records, medical reports, screenshots of his family's text messages. They see the timeline, how his behavior changed not because of my grief, but because of his plans to leave. The financial manipulation becomes public record during divorce proceedings. His lawyer tries to claim joint assets, but the evidence shows systematic restriction of my access to our shared money. He lashes out in court, raises his voice at the judge, shows the exact temperament issues he's been falsely attributing to me. No one listens to his victim narrative anymore. The power he relied on evaporates like morning mist. 6 months later, I'm standing in my own kitchen. Real hardwood cabinets I picked out myself, a coffee maker that works properly. No broken glass on the floor. The promotion at Meridian came through last month. Senior art director. My own team. Projects that challenge me instead of diminishing me. I have friends again, people who knew me before I learned to apologize for existing. They tell me I look different now, stronger, more like myself. I think about the word James used that night. Useless. How it felt like a verdict. How it nearly broke something essential inside me. But I realize now that word never belonged to me. It was his projection, his fear, his own sense of inadequacy disguised as judgment. I didn't destroy him, I didn't ruin his life or steal his happiness. I simply refused to disappear quietly when he decided I was inconvenient. I survived him. And that was enough. The miscarriage still hurts sometimes, the loss of what could have been. But I understand now that grief and strength aren't opposites. You can mourn and heal at the same time. I sleep peacefully in my own bed, wake up to sunlight streaming through windows I chose, drink coffee from mugs that belong only to me. James was wrong about everything, but he was especially wrong about this. I was never useless. I was just married to a man who needed me to believe I was. And believing that lie almost cost me everything, including myself. But not quite. Never quite. Some things are too strong to break, even when they're bent, even when they're tested, even when they're called useless by people who never understood their worth in the first place.